everyone. Welcome to our very first Center for Inquiry Skills Seminar. My name is Susan Gerbic, and I am working with CFI as their Ambassador of Outreach. Our focus is to grow the community. We are starting by focusing on growing the smaller grassroots groups. And Center for Inquiry began a program years ago for affiliate groups, but it's been years and it really hasn't been updated and given a lot of quality attention. So we're revamping it. The CFI Speakers Bureau and a group resources page are also on the website. You can find all of this information at centerforinquiry.org. On the website, you're going to find an ever-growing list of all of the affiliated groups. And if you haven't already started receiving the Pass the Torch newsletters, which are emails, please email outreach@centerforinquiry.org. So in this webinar today, which is going to be on the Center for Inquiry's YouTube page, so make sure that you subscribe. We will be focusing mainly on promoting your events outside your choir. So we have seen in-person events promoted by sharing something on Facebook and Meetup, and that's great, but it's not enough, because what it's doing is it's only alerting the people who are already in the group. And so what we're going to do today, we have brought together a panel of people today who were going to be sharing their expertise to help you market your group better. So we want to improve your attendance numbers and we want to grow your membership. So we have planned a lot of other webinars, hopefully every month, and they're going to help your group grow. And we've got all kinds of different topics planned, like raising money, how to put on a skeptic camp, how to put on a solid hybrid event, because that's, some people still aren't comfortable coming back from the pandemic, and it's actually a little harder than you think. So maybe a webinar on law and rules, how to run a really good YouTube channel, or using Meetup effectively. There's all kinds of other ideas, but if you have more ideas, or you have the expertise that should probably be on a panel, we want to hear from you. So please reach out to outreach@centerforinquiry.org, and make sure you remember that's .org. Not .com. Okay, so tonight we're going to get a real quick intro from all the panelists. You can see us all on the screen right at the moment. They're going to introduce themselves in the same order that they're going to do a 5 to 10 minute, more or less, presentation. You're going to put your questions. If you can see down at the bottom of the screen, there's a Q&A. So that's where you're going to put your questions, and I will be answering. Oh, well, I'm not going to answer the questions, but I'm going to be reading the questions out to you guys all when we're all done. So if you are watching this on YouTube right now, hi. But if you're watching it on YouTube, what we'd like you to do is go ahead and put your comments or questions that you have underneath the video, or you could reach out to each individual panelist if we have a specific question that we might be able to answer for you. They're hopefully going to give their contact information, or you can get a hold of us at outreach@centerforinquiry.org. So all of those methods are going to probably be able to help you guys. I'm going to start off by I'm going to have Jeff introduce himself.
Great. Good evening, everyone, or afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Jeff. I'm the communications manager for the Center for Inquiry. I joined the organization last August. Prior to being part of the Center for Inquiry, I was for 3 years the Director of Marketing and Communications for Thinkery, which is the Austin, Texas Children's Museum. Prior to that, I've done digital marketing and communications for Amazon Kindle, the Los Angeles Times Media Group, and I spent about the first 10 or so years of my career working in radio in both behind the scenes and on-air capacities. So now, as part of Center for Inquiry, I work with Julia, who will be up next. And between the two of us, we work on all of the marketing and communications programs run by the national organization.
Hi, I'm Julia Hassan. I'm the multi-channel marketing associate here at CFI, and I've been here for about 1.5 years now. Before that, I actually just graduated school. So I was at New York University and I got an interdisciplinary degree in communications, media, and visual arts. So a lot of what I do is the graphic design, the content development, as well as our social media copy, our writing for social media and for paid advertisements, and also our analysis for paid advertisements.
Hi, I guess it's my turn. Hi, I'm Kathy McKenzie. I am a longtime journalist who has worked in a great range of communications during my life. I've worked for newspapers, I've worked for magazines. I have done PR, both paid and unpaid, as a volunteer. And so I always tell people I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I've also written a book. So basically my life has revolved around communications, I guess you could say. And I am also a longtime member of the Monterey County Skeptics. So I'm going to be talking about my experiences organizing and promoting an event for that group. And I should mention we're in the central coast of California. And that's how I know Susan Gerbic, who asked me to be here.
All right, thank you so much, Kathy and Jeff and Julia. I am Susan Gerbic. I am the ambassador for CFI, and I am here to answer your questions and help you guys grow. I don't have all the answers, but I do know a lot of people who can help you out. I am, you may know me from the About Time Project, which includes the Monterey County Skeptics. Also, I run the very famous Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia project, as well as a team of people who researches psychics. It's really fun. So I forgot to mention, but I will do it really quick. So Jeff is going to start off with a talk on 3 kinds of media to think about, followed by Julia, who's going to be talking about paid media and owned media. Kathy's going to be talking about how one local skeptic event organizes a successful event. And then I'm going to be talking about visuals. Don't forget, you guys, to mention how best you would like people to communicate with you. My easiest way of getting a hold of me is susangerbic@gmail.com, or just send me a Facebook message, a messenger. That's probably the quickest way to get a hold of me. And I'm very comfortable communicating that way. So we're going to start off with Jeff.
Cool. Thank you very much, Susan. So when we talk about getting the word out about events or webinars like this one, or any kind of activities at any level, individual affiliate, national level, what have you, what we're really talking about is 3 different kinds of media that each have varying degrees of power from a user standpoint, but also varying degrees of complication and accessibility in terms of being able to access them. And when we talk about the 3 kinds of media, the way I have that broken out is first you have paid media, which is traditional advertising or sponsored content or boosted social media posts, when you're actually spending money to get the message out to an audience through another media organization. In the middle, you have what we call owned media. This is basically any and every public-facing channel that you control. That can be the social media channels for your group. That can be your organization's website. That can be your email list if you run a regular newsletter or you do e-blasts about your events. And also the event pages themselves. When you create a page for a webinar or a get-together or a book club or whatever it is, think of the invitation or the event page that you direct people to as a communication channel unto itself. And then the third kind is earned media. This is the kind that everybody wants, and of course is therefore the hardest to get. This is news coverage from your local TV and radio station. This is getting invited on talk shows or podcasts to talk about either your event or your organization and the work that you're doing at the local level, or really any other instance of other people outside of your own communication channels talking about or sharing your event without being paid to do so. So when you look at those 3 kinds of media, as I mentioned, Julia and I kind of tag team on both of these. Julia in the marketing side for CFI National is primarily responsible for all of our paid media. And so she'll be talking about that more later, the advertising, the social boosted posts and paid content and SponCon. And then also in terms of our owned media channels, Julia is primarily responsible for all of our social, Facebook, Twitter, the TikTok and Instagram accounts and the YouTube pages. Now I have access to those and we'll post to them periodically, but 95% of what you see posted to those pages, Julia controls the content calendar. So that's going to be coming up a little bit later. For my portion of the conversation, I want to focus on the other pieces. We're going to start talking about earned media, which is, sorry, hold on one moment. My dog loves hearing about earned media. Anyway, we're going to be talking about earned media, and then we're going to be talking about the other owned media channels within the CFI infrastructure. So if we can move to the next slide. As I said, I have some modicum of control over the social media channels, but I do a lot of work on our website. A lot of the email newsletters that we send out, I don't know if you're a subscriber to, say, Cause and Effect or the Richard Dawkins Foundation newsletter. We just sent one of those today. We create all of those in-house, and those are all different ways that we can use to promote events, initiatives, etc. But let's start actually talking about the brass ring that everybody loves, everybody wants, and that is earned media. So earned media, as I said, is something that everybody wants to be given access to, and it is the by far hardest of the three channels to get. And at first you'd think, well, why should it be so hard? You know, I'm doing this event, I've got a cool guest, it's a great topic, really cool activations, whatever it is. Getting the press out should be easy. Well, you would think so, but unfortunately there are a host of factors, and Kathy can speak to some of this as well, having been a journalist for years and years, but most of them are totally outside your control, but they have a big impact on whether or not you're going to be able to get any kind of press coverage for your event or your panel. Some of these include, you know, breaking news and bigger events happening at the same time. We've all seen the local news or the radio stations cut in for storm coverage or something big happening in the local market that was totally unpredictable. I guarantee you people had events or things going on that they were expecting to get covered that day that got wiped off the map because of a blizzard, or even a pre-scheduled event. For example, this last year, February 12th was Darwin Day, and a lot of our groups were doing things to celebrate and mark the occasion. Unfortunately, Darwin Day was also Super Bowl Sunday. So getting outside publicity for any of those activations was harder because it's much easier from the press side to just run 6 different Super Bowl stories, because that's what people are talking about and looking for anyway. Another thing to think about is logistics, available lead time. It is always optimal to give potential press as much runway as possible prior to your event. When you think about, oh, well, the reporter from the local morning news was out at the fair the other day and doing, you know, break-ins at the top of the hour talking about all the different things. That fair hit was probably planned weeks in advance. The reporters and their camera people and their producers schedule out what they're going to be doing and where they're going to be doing it, particularly for live remotes, way in advance. So if you want to have a shot at securing any of that for your event, you need to give them as much lead time as possible, and also think about when you're scheduling your event. Is it too late for the newspaper the next day, or is it too late for the local late news to pick it up, but also well past the time that tomorrow's morning news people have all gone to bed? You know, again, just things to be thinking about, putting yourself in the shoes of the journalists you're hoping will cover you. And then the most important thing to keep in mind, and this is constant across the board, is what I call the inbox avalanche. Any reporter who you might reach out to with your press release, I promise you, has received anywhere from 15 to 150 other press releases that day. They are constantly being inundated with people inviting their coverage. So you really have to make sure that your materials stand out if you want to have a chance of cutting through all of that clutter. So we move on to the next slide. What can you do? Securing coverage can be hard. It's not impossible. Again, we particularly within this organization. If we only wanted to do easy things, we wouldn't be doing things like trying to debunk the flood of misinformation out there. You know, we're not afraid of hard work, but you need to be smart about it to give yourself the best chance in order to make that work successful. So some of the tips that I would put forward for you, and these are, again, just good advice based on both my experiences on the media side and the PR side, but then also thinking about it from the consumer side is super helpful. The end user that all of these reporters or talk show hosts or whomever are trying to get to pay attention to them. So first of all, start building your list now. It is always very helpful to know what local reporters cover the particular beats that you're dealing in, and get their email addresses or their phone numbers or their contact information, and have a list ahead of time so that when an event comes up where you want coverage, you know who to reach out to, and you don't have to spend the time making the list then, and you can instead dedicate that time to getting the word out. The next piece, spoon feed them the story. Make sure that your press release, as I mentioned, cuts through the clutter of their inbox. Frame the story with a very, as much as possible, easy to follow narrative, right? It's not enough to just say, we're doing this on this date and it's cool and you should come check it out. You have to give them more of the story, sort of write it for them at least a little bit, start them down the path. It's also very helpful to provide photos, logos, graphics, or at least link to them in your pitch, right? TV especially, but even newspapers, they want to know what the visual is that they're going to put forward. What's the B-roll video, or what's the photo that they're going to put with the article. If you can provide photos and logos and all of the tools that they're going to need without them having to ask, it will help you get their attention. Again, I mentioned lots of lead time, the TV morning shows planning their remotes and their coverage calendar weeks in advance. So you need to get in front of that. But then you also need to, as your event date gets closer, you need to remind them. It's always good to do at least one, usually two follow-ups, so that if somebody that they already had scheduled to be out doing a remote app drops out for whatever reason, you know, late availabilities do pop up. And so you want to make sure that you're giving them multiple opportunities to get interested in what you're doing. And then finally, and I can't stress the importance of this enough, relationship building is super crucial, right? If and when you do get a reporter out to cover your event, or get invited on a local talk show or something like that, it is important to maintain that as, I apologize for the sales term, but as much of a live lead as possible. The reasons for that are twofold. People like being thanked, even though they're just doing their job. But then also, one of the things that drives media at every level, particularly locally, but also at the national level, as you might expect, is the same fear of missing out or being the last one on a story. So if you have a local radio reporter or newspaper reporter who's constantly covering your events, that's going to get the other reporters going, they're spending a lot of time on this. Maybe we should be too. If you can start with a couple of reporters who you have great events with and they are reliable allies, I can tell you that will, generally speaking, grow over time, because nobody wants to be missing out on a good story. So I think there's one more slide. Yes. So that's earned media. Like I said, very difficult to control, and you can do all of the best practices stuff and all of the smart, savvy tactics and pre-write the stories, and it still won't work. So it's important that you make sure that the channels that you control, in other words, owned media, you are taking full control of. And what does that mean, and what are some good tips for that? Well, when you think about the event listings that you're building for your websites or your landing pages, or how you're communicating about your group and what you're doing to the public, it's important, first of all, to think about the 6th W that they never tell you about. We all know when you're writing a press release, it's who, what, where, when, and why. But the 6th W, the really important one, is what's this got to do with me? Or alternately, who cares? Again, put yourself in the mind of the end user, the news consumer, right? It's great that we are all interested in the material that we're talking about and the things that we're doing, but how do you, as Susan was alluding to, expand that circle? How do you get to people who are outside the existing ecosystem? You have to explain to them in crystal clear language why they should care and what this has to do with them. The other thing, it seems simple, but it's surprisingly not. Make sure your materials are appealing and airtight. Think again about how you interact with the web. Would you prefer to land on a landing page with one dissertation length copy block, or do you prefer short, easy to read paragraphs that make things easy to understand? Are you the sort of person who gets distracted when you see typos and grammar mistakes to the point where you're missing the message because you're focusing so much on all of the very easily corrected typos and grammatical errors? Finding good pictures and graphics. Again, it's not super complicated, but it's a step that a lot of people don't pay attention to, and it winds up hurting them. Also, streamline the process of registering for events. People are busy, and so giving them as few opportunities to bail out on you as possible is always smart. Think about the one-click purchase button on Amazon. If you have an event, think very hard about, do you want to build a landing page that links to your event sign up, or do you want to just link directly to the event sign up? Every page a person has to click through is another off-ramp for them to just give up. Everything, everywhere, at least once. By this, I mean, you need to really treat your events. You're your own most important client. You need to treat your events as premium happenings, because if you don't seem super excited about them, no one else will be either. So you should be making sure that anytime you host an event or a webinar, or again, any kind of gathering, you're putting it on your Facebook, you're putting it on your Twitter, you're putting it on all your social media, you have a landing page. Give people as many doors in as possible to find you and the work that you're doing. And then finally, make it shareable. Make sure that the content that you're creating has a like button, but also a share button, a way for people to pass it on. If you find one live lead, they probably know 3 or 4 other people who would also be great leads, but you're not going to get to those people unless you ask them to share it. So I think shareability, not only making things shareable, but taking the time to take the extra step and ask your supporters to share them is super important. So that is my spiel. And I think that's my spiel. We're out of slides, yeah? Okay, so then I believe it's time for me to turn things back over to Susan.
Oh, that was great. I'm getting writer's cramp from writing all those notes down. Those great suggestions you gave us, Jeff. That was great. Where can people get a hold of you if they would like to get more information from your brain?
Sure, the easiest way to reach me is my email, jdellinger@centerforinquiry.org. You can also, if you go to the CFI main website, as I mentioned, I write the Morning Heresy blog. I do press releases. So when you click on my author link on the CFI website, you'll be able to find my contact information there as well.
That was great. Thank you so much. Okay, so next up, we're going to have Julia. I want to remind everybody, if they have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A. We will go to them after when we're all done. And if you are on YouTube, make sure you're giving us all the questions you possibly can, or reaching out to us personally. So Julia, you're up.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen with you all. It's loading. And here we are. Does everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is social media in 2023. What's really cool about social media is that it changes all the time, every month. So you really need, every month, every week, every day. So you really need to be up to date on the latest trends and what people are attracted to. So let's try to get through this as quickly as possible because there are a lot of slides. Firstly, why social media? There are a number of reasons why you would choose social media to promote your events. And Jeff mentioned some of them, just also the everything everywhere at least once rule is fantastic. You should be putting everything everywhere at least once on your socials. A lot of our social media is made to generate and nurture leads. We're building our relationships. We're building our relationships not only with our community, but with potential sponsors, with potential influencers, with potential speakers. So it's really important, and it's really where community is these days. We're also looking to build brand awareness. This is the new form of real estate, social media. As Jeff said, you know, your owned socials, that's your real estate. So why not take up that space when you have it? We're also implementing social listening. So you're getting audience feedback. You can engage with your audience, learn more about them, learn about their interests and their likes and dislikes. You're increasing traffic to your website. I am a firm believer that most social media copy and posts should attach a link. So ideally, you are increasing traffic to whatever website. You're encouraging them to click to engage, and that'll also boost your post up on the social media algorithm. It's also a fantastic way to stay top of mind with key people. If people see that you're active on your Facebook groups, people are going to want to engage. If people see that you haven't posted something in a month or 2 months, they're probably going to think you're dead. Not really, but they might. You know, they're not going to want to engage, as it's not as likely that they will. So you really want to stay current, up to date, posting, I would say at least twice a week on Facebook, on Twitter, at least 4 times a week, but we'll get into those things too. And if you really want to get fancy with it, it's a wonderful way to measure your marketing efforts. Social media has changed so much in the last few years, and now every channel has pretty much free information for you on your analytics and the insights and the posts that are doing the best. This can give you a lot of insight into what posts to pay for to boost, so that, you know, if you see that it's resonating with people, you know that you can get a wonderful ROI on that if you were to boost it. So these are the 5 cogs in the social media machine. I just want to go over these because I think a lot of people kind of look at social media as simply blah, 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 tweet, boom, done. And it's not like that at all. So firstly, in a social media team, you would have a strategist. So they are planning the campaigns, they're setting the SMART goals and the deadlines, they're sending content briefs, so what they're looking for in deliverables to the content creators. They're the ones that are in charge of generating those leads and the conversions. Content production. So this is where you get all of your visuals, your news articles. Susan will get into the visuals and graphics a bit more. But it's really important to be posting both micro and macro content. And what that means is, as much as you're posting those big events and hopefully posting frequently about those big events, you also want to be encouraging your readers to engage in smaller ways. So perhaps that's clicking an article, perhaps that's leaving a certain emoji if they agree with something that you've said. All of these little ways to establish your voice and to create content. It doesn't have to be as difficult as you think. Typically, there's also a community manager. This person engages in conversations, which is so important. Wherever the brand is mentioned, wherever you're tagged, you're talking to your audience. You know, you want the brand. A way to describe it too is brands are becoming more and more like characters, like personalities. So you want your brand to have that character and that personality. And part of that is building those relationships and getting down on people's levels and, you know, responding, liking, retweeting, engaging. Paid advertising is a wonderful way to increase your reach, because I know as of 2022, it was 5% of Facebook posts, organic Facebook posts that were not paid for, reached 5% of people's audiences in 2022. That's kind of crazy. So you really, really want to be putting at least some money into these paid advertisements to boost your posts. Lastly, there's analysis, and this is a little bit more in depth. I don't know if you guys will be engaging in analysis, but you're studying those industry trends and the tools and the social media platforms. This can be as simple as, you know, subscribing to There are certain, emails I know with Sprout Social. If you subscribe with them, they send you occasionally different articles of, these are the 2023 trends. This is what's going to be hot in July. And it's really important to just keep your mind open and continue to adapt as these things change. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an online quiz, but I'm also going to answer these questions as we go. So just maybe answer in your head and I will give you the answer. So what percentage of all online content was video in 2022? You might say 50, you might say 60. The answer is 82%. That's insane. Most of our content on our socials are videos. People want to engage with videos. So try to incorporate as much as you can, visuals, graphics, and videos. Videos are wonderful because they can go across platforms too. So you can hit Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook with the same video. And it doesn't take all of your time because it's the same video. Okay, so the ability to do what directly from social media has become the norm, and this is pretty important. I know Jeff talked about it with Amazon's one-click purchase products. This is where people are finding out about events. This is where people are finding communities. This is where people are finding their next, class or course that they want to take. This is where people are purchasing their products. So it's really important that you take up your real estate on social media for that reason. Instead of using it purely for advertising, brands use social media to do what? And we mentioned this, well, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but as I said, brands are becoming a personality. They're becoming characters, and people want to talk to brands as if you're talking to your friends. So it's really important for forging those customer relationships. All right, Facebook is wonderful to sell products, to market your business. It's basically a digital white page. It's also fantastic for running ads. When you run an ad on Facebook, it also runs equally on Instagram. Facebook ads will track whether your post is doing better on Instagram or Facebook, and it'll pick which platform to invest more money in as the ad runs. Twitter is literally the digital form of word of mouth. It's wonderful, it's fantastic. You can directly post, like, comment, and engage in dialogue. It's super quick and easy. A lot of people would say to update your Twitter feed daily. I don't know for branches if that's necessary. I would say 3 times a week. Instagram is wonderful visual content to connect with your audience, promote your brands. Gen X, millennials, Gen X and millennials mostly, and also a little bit of Gen Z, are mostly on that platform. So if you really want to target those kinds of audiences, go to Instagram and run ads on Facebook and Instagram. Use the visual content to help you. And I really, you really need to post, do the post and then post it in your story as well, so that you can get more viewers. And then also rely heavily on hashtags to share content. When you type in hashtags on Instagram, it'll let you know how many people are using that hashtag in general. And I think the rule of thumb for Instagram is you want to look for people that have used the tag less than 100,000 times. That is a rather sweet spot. YouTube is all video content information and how-tos. I highly recommend you post your events and film them, post them on YouTube, create ads for YouTube. You can also do shorts on YouTube now, so any kind of reel that you would be uploading to Instagram and TikTok, upload it to YouTube Shorts. It's actually the way people find, I think it's actually don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure as of 2022, it was the most popular social media platform around. It's where people are finding all of their music. It's where people are finding all of their news. It's where people are learning how to really do anything. They're teaching themselves lots of things on YouTube. So take advantage of that. There's a lot to be taught about the skeptic community. And LinkedIn, of course. This is more for building and sustaining your network, for creating a more polished portfolio for your brand. It's a wonderful way to establish a little bit more legitimacy, especially when you're going and you're looking for different sponsors and influencers and people to be speakers. I think LinkedIn is a wonderful platform for that. And they also you can boost posts in the same way that you can with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and TikTok. All right, some quick tips. We want to avoid any lengthy, convoluted sentences when we're posting. People like shorter sentences. The shorter, the better. The shorter the word, the better. If you can find a word that's shorter than the word you're using, use that word. We don't want business speak. We want to see your personality. We want your brand voice to come out. Like I said, I've said it a couple times now, people are looking for personalities to attach to with every brand. And so you really want to show your personality when you're posting. Use emojis to illustrate your point instead of explaining things. As I said before, people don't want a lot of words. Jeff said that as well. You'd rather read a couple sentences than a huge blurb. So take advantage of that and use emojis to express your feelings about things. Use emojis to express, different sort of things like that. All right. You want to include a CTA all of the time. A CTA is a call to action. So that call to action can be, you see it on most, you'll see it once you learn about it, you'll see it on every post. A call to action is, watch now, read more, learn more here, read the full story, sign up, register now. All of those are call to actions. They should always be included. I always call, if you post a link and you don't have a call to action, you're letting that link float in the ether, and that's not okay. Your link needs to have a buddy, and your buddy is the call to action. It's also equally important to choose just one call to action when you are posting. People don't like to be told what to do very often. So if you're going to tell them to do one thing, don't confuse them. Just give them one thing to do. Register for this event, sign up to our email list, et cetera, et cetera. It will definitely increase your conversions. And by the way, conversions are when people are clicking on your link and engaging. All right. Write as though you're speaking directly to each fan. Write as though you're talking to your friend. That's, I think, a wonderful little tidbit that I use a lot with CFI's account. Incorporate hashtags into sentences. Any keywords that you're using, hashtag it. I know Facebook likes about 2 hashtags per post. Instagram likes about 5 hashtags per post. Twitter likes 1 to 2. TikTok likes, I would say 3 to 5. So everything has a little bit of a different amount of hashtags that will help you in the algorithm. Wonderful. So let's continue on. So this is, if you want to give yourself a little tester and, give yourself an exercise to do, why don't you try to take this article headline and this article blurb, take a screenshot if you'd like, and try to format your own social media copy. Remember that you're limited to 180 characters, and you need to have a hook to engage your reader, the relevant information. Don't forget your CTA and your link. So in this case, we did, this article is Florida man arrested for attempting to break into jail. If you'll read the blurb there, he, really wanted to see his friends. So an example would be hashtag Florida man is at it again, this time ramming his car into the front door of a county jail to visit some friends. Read the full story on, tag the publication every time. tag the publication. They have a Facebook, they have a Twitter, they have an Instagram. Most legitimate companies have all of those things. Tag them so they can see it and maybe they can retweet it. And then include your link. So that's a little example. If you'd like to take a screenshot and do that exercise and I don't know, write it in the comments, I'd love to see your ideas there. All right, on to paid advertising. So this is super important. A lot of paid advertising it's very similar to social media, except you're inputting money into it. So it's pretty important to test and revise these things. It can also be really fun to experiment. But what's most important with your paid advertising is first deciding on your goals, whether that's to increase website traffic, whether that's to have people sign up for a certain event. All of those things, Facebook will build the ad a little bit differently, or at least sell it to a different audience. And Facebook will give you those options when you go to create your ad. You want to research, oops, the daisies. Yes, you want to research your target audience. It should be actually pretty simple for you guys to research your target audience because your target audience are people like you. So what would you like to see? What would engage you? What would bring you to an event? You know, you have to think, if you've never heard of this company, what would encourage you to spend time on them? All right, you need to create compelling visuals and copy. As I said, reels are super important now. Videos, if you can, people like to watch those things. And then aim to spend 2 to 5% of your revenue on your marketing. Now, I know it's a little bit different since budgets are a little bit different with the branches, but that's usually a key. You shouldn't be spending too much, especially when you're just starting out on the advertising, because a lot of it will be experimenting on a small scale before you're able to expand. The best channels for marketing ROI are Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Google Ads. And I would recommend Facebook and Instagram first and foremost, because I think they have a wonderful streamlined process of creating a campaign. And then I would also recommend TikTok. TikTok also has a pretty streamlined process of creating a campaign, and it also opens you up to a whole new audience. I would also look into analyzing your competitors. See what other organizations are doing. See what how they're creating their copy. Look at what keywords they're using, because those keywords, especially if it's a successful ad, is going to clue you in as to what keywords you should use, what keywords are working in the algorithm. Test a few ads or a few versions of the same ad. Maybe have just the same graphic, different copy. Or maybe you're going to put different videos, same copy, you know, test different versions of them. Facebook has a test A and a test B option too, when you go in to create a campaign, and it's fantastic for that reason. You can see what's working better and what's not working as well. Invest just a little bit money and then focus on what's working better. Invest more money into what's getting more traction. And then obviously use your previous results as benchmarks. Don't just post the ad and then never look at it again. Go back into Facebook analytics, look at how many people engaged with it. I think a good engagement rate is about 10% of viewers. So look at those things. And also, I think you want to keep in mind, Facebook will tell you how much you're paying per click. And a good range to be is around $1. If you can be less than $1 per click, that's wonderful. If your clicks are averaging a bit more than $1, I would say try something else. Pivot it a little bit. See if something else works better. And then, as I said, test and revise and repeat. It's really a process of experimentation. And like I said, the social media game changes so much all of the time, every week. So you really just want to keep researching those industry trends and trying everything you can. It's wonderful with owned media that we have, because that's really your real estate space. There's really no failing, because you're not paying anything. It's just, you're putting it out there. And it's a wonderful place to experiment, especially as to what ads you might want to boost. And when I say boost, I just want to mention that boosting is very similar to paid advertising, except you're taking a post that actually already exists in the ether, and you're clicking boost, and you're putting a little bit of money into that ad, and you're specifying your audience's interests a little bit: skepticism, science, atheism, and then really Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they do the rest of the work. And yeah, it's fantastic. So if you're interested in learning more about any of these things, these are some of the sources that I've used to collect this information, and some of my favorite sources that I regularly go back to look at those trends. SurveyMonkey is fantastic. They're always publishing new things about the social media trends, as well as Sprout Social and Hootsuite. They're also fantastic ways to get information. All right, I took a long time and I apologize. But that concludes my portion of the presentation. If you have any questions at all, if you'd like to discuss, scaling out, writing copy, creating content, what have you, please reach out to me at jhassan, Hassan, jhassan at centerforinquiry.org, and I will be happy to.
That was great. That was really great. Oh my gosh, there's so much content in there. I do not know. I'm so glad we're putting this up on YouTube. YouTube people again, so that they'll be able to go back and look at these again. Some of the things that were mentioned were, things that I might end up needing a little bit soon. I don't know. So here we have Kathy McKenzie. I'm so excited to let Kathy give her presentation, because it concerns a lot of the world that I've been involved in for a very long time here in Monterey. So, all right, Kathy, it's all yours.
Well, thanks, Susan. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Susan and I have known each other for some years now. I got involved in Monterey County Skeptics, and she has shanghaied me into all kinds of stuff, and it's been totally fun. So, but I want to tell you about the experience that we've had organizing our Monterey County Skeptic Camp we started it in 2015 and it ran through 2020. Unfortunately, the pandemic interrupted that. At this point, I'm not sure, if we are bringing it back. That's a conversation we need to have. But at any rate, I wanted to tell you about our experience, because, we're a small group. We probably have maybe 20 dedicated members and 100 some people on our Facebook group. We are in a small media market, so we have a couple of daily papers, we have a weekly paper, we have a couple of TV stations, and the community, the population of Monterey County is less than 500,000. So you're not talking about a huge audience that we're reaching out to. However, I think we did pretty well with our outreach on Skeptic Camp, and we did it all for free. That was the greatest thing. So I'm just going to kind of go through how we our process and how we planned the event and promoted it, and with all volunteers. So initially, the initial planning is actually a really important piece of the puzzle. So when we set out to organize Skeptic Camp, I mentioned that the beginning of the year is a great time to have events, because there's not a lot of competition. In fact, in the months between Christmas and about spring break, there's generally not like tons of things happening. It's a little bit of a dead time as far as like fun community events are concerned. So I mentioned that to Susan, and I said, this is when we need to have the event. And so we actually worked that into our promotion of the event, saying, here's a great way to start off your new year with, a fresh perspective. And so some of the other things that we considered when we were planning Skeptic camps was that we wanted to have food available at them. Food is a great draw. We would have free food available in the mornings, and then bring in some sandwiches that people could make a donation for at lunchtime. And then we also had free admission to the event, and then just asked for donations to defray the cost. People love free stuff, so we also had giveaways of like skeptic literature and books, mostly contributed by Susan, which was fantastic. So people could come and just pick through those. And we had some entertainment. We had Mark Edward doing magic tricks at some of the skeptic camps. At another one, we had a game show type thing called Skepperty, which was a big hit. And so, we sort of mixed up our lectures with some other fun things to kind of break it up and give people a break from the mental work of listening to lectures. Let's see. So then as we get into the planning of the event, we would get our speaker list set up. So we would look for speakers, both local and people that we would bring in from out of town, and kind of try to have a mix of topics, and then get that all kind of set. We would have the speakers send us their bios and a headshot, and then their topic, what they were going to be speaking about. And then getting all the details settled as far as, where the event was going to be held, what day. Ours was always on the second Saturday of January. Any other pertinent details. We try to get those nailed down at least a few months before the event, because we had to start promoting it and writing press releases and communicating with the press. And we wanted everything to be set and not a lot of changes. It's very awkward to go back after you send out a press release and say, well, oops, sorry, we meant to say that the hours were thus and such, and, anyway, as Jeff was mentioning, it's really great to form a relationship with the press if you can. So we were just sending press releases out cold to people that we thought might cover the event. It's a good idea to send a press release to a news editor if you can find a news editor's contact information, because they're the ones who make the assignments to the reporters. And we would hit up a few reporters as well, just in the hopes that, somebody would get interested in what we were, what we were promoting. And and again, as Jeff said, you want to have a short press release that's to the point. I would try to keep our press releases to 1 to 2 pages at most. And there was a lot of information to get in, but you don't want to go into a lot of hyperbole or a lot of, see this link for more information. You want to make it as easy as possible for the reporter to write an advanced story. And the advanced story is the thing that's going to get in before the event, that's going to alert people that, hey, there's this interesting event going on and it's free and they're going to have food there and entertainment, and you might learn something. So the press release along with headshots and hopefully, you know, we would have a shot from a previous event included. So to give people the flavor of, you know, what it was about, and send that out, you know, 4 to 6 weeks before the event. And then you always want to make sure your press release has a contact person with their correct contact information in case there's a question or they need a quote or, you know, some other bit of information to write their advanced story. You want to also update your website if you have one to reflect all the information of the event, so that when people go there looking for information, all that they need is right there. Let's see. So as Jeff said, you want to have your list of media, and then you want to remind them about 2 weeks before the event that it's happening. And that can just be a quick email. Hey, you know, hope that you're going to be sending somebody to cover our event. Would love to see you there. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help you. So the other thing that's really important, so you've done your press release, you've done the traditional media, and also I should say, you want to make sure you're sending it out to newspapers, to TV stations, and even radio stations. I used to send releases to the NPR station in our area in hopes that maybe they would be interested in doing a feature on it. They never did, but we did get you know, some great response ultimately from newspapers. So in fact, I have an image of an advanced story, and I don't know if that can be put up there. Well, anyway, we'll go on. So another thing, so social media, which Julia did a great job of explaining. So you want to make sure that it's on your Facebook, your personal Facebook page. If you have a Facebook page for your skeptic group, that it's on there, and then you want to keep repeating it. You want to keep getting the message out there as much as you can, and you know, share it with your friends. Ask the people in your group to keep sharing it through social media as well as through just general word of mouth. Ask them to bring a friend to the event, for instance. So there's other really interesting online tools you can use. So we would use Eventbrite and have people RSVP, which was useful in a couple of ways. So you could, not only was Eventbrite great for just knowing how many people approximately were coming, but also it would give you their email. And one of the things that we could have done better was forming a database of the people that responded via Eventbrite and also people that left us their email addresses at the event. And so, you know, that was one thing we did not do, but, you know, being a small group, it's hard to do everything. So let's see. So you can also list your event on Meetup. You can list it on social media event calendars like the one that Facebook has. There are also online calendars that are probably associated with like the newspapers, et cetera, in your community. And sometimes that's a separate process where you have to register and then you can go into their calendar and list your community event. And so I was able to locate a number of local online community calendars, and I would go and put all the information into their community calendars and you know, just hit as many different avenues as I could think of to promote the event. you know, Julia did a great job of covering a lot of things with social media. So I won't go into all that. So anyway, to kind of wrap this up, so we ended up, so our first year, 2015, we had about 30 people attend. The next year, it roughly doubled, and we were like amazed and astounded. You know, we were at our event getting set up, and people just kept coming in and coming in and coming in, and it was really awesome. We you know, we got great coverage in the press. We ended up getting some feature articles at the front of the local section. We got advanced stories with nice photos, and it all really helped to bring people in. The other thing that we started doing a few years in was Susan would film videos of the different speakers and post them online. And some of these actually got a lot of hits for one reason or another. And, you know, it was a really great way of getting the message out to the worldwide audience. Some of the things that we could have done better, probably in retrospect, is, as I mentioned, we could have formed a database of local people that were interested in skepticism and done a better job of reaching out to them. Now that I know more about things like MailChimp and email news blasts and that sort of thing, that would have been an ideal thing to do. We still could do that at some point, of course. You know, and do a better job of follow-up and reminders for other events throughout the year, and also for skeptic camps that were coming. We could have done boosted media, as Julia was mentioning. It's very inexpensive. You can target your audience on social media really precisely. You know, you can do it for certain zip codes, certain like age demographics. And that would have been a great thing to do, but you know, when it was something that I didn't know that much about at that time. So the other thing that we could have done was co-sponsored more events with other groups, and this is something we should look to in the future. When we were organizing Skeptic Camp, you know, it was basically like just 3 or 4 of us doing the event, and it was a lot to do. And if you join forces with another group, at least it spreads the workload around. Hopefully you have more people that are joining in and volunteering and giving their time, and it you know, lightens the load for everybody. So that's really all I have to say. And I did see in the chat people were asking about sample press releases. I'd be glad to send you a sample press release. My email is Kathy, I'm sorry, it's a long one, Kathy McKenzie writer @gmail.com, and it's KATHY and writer, like writing. Yeah, please reach out. I'd be glad to send you that. So thanks so much. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Susan.
That was such a nice reminder of our years doing skeptic camps together. It was so much fun. I'm going to show you guys some visuals in my presentation. So I'm going to open it up right now and get started. A lot of fun. I mean, what a lot of talent in our community. And this is what we're looking for, is some expertise, having a lot of expertise that we can rely on to learn from, learn how best to put on these webinars. So if you do have any other, I know we've got a bunch of questions coming up in there. Some of the other panelists are going to start answering some of the questions that are a little more specific, and hopefully that way we won't be here as long as, you know, well, I can stay. I'm in California. It doesn't matter to me, but as far as more future webinars, we need, we're going to try to do these every month at least we can. So I'm going to go to visuals. My presentation is extremely visual for obvious reasons, but what we're going to be able to do here is I'm going to show you some good best practices. So we're going to start off with here. This is from a long time ago, one of our events, Skeptic Camp. Now, I think that all the local groups should do their best they can to order some nice visuals. So get a nice colorful logo and get yourself some posters made up and get yourself something for the lectern. And I'm going to emphasize that a lot because if you don't have something to show the press, if you don't have something to put out on Meetup or to put up on Facebook or any of the social medias, it's not going to be really a great representation. You have to have stuff to give them before the event and to be able to follow up with the event and use these visuals for thumbnails on your videos and for there's just gobs of places they're going to use them. So as you can see, these, we have a nice bright logo, and we've changed. We have another one we're using now, but this is what it looks like at one of our Skeptic Camp events. This is Kathy's husband, by the way. So that's Glenn. And you can see on the lectern as well as behind him. And you have to have somebody taking pictures. So when you have your group of people there, do not rely on somebody at the end of the night to say, oh, I think I took a couple. No, assign somebody to take pictures. And you do not need to be a professional photographer. You can do this with your smartphone, but really think about it. Somebody needs to take pictures, and they need to get them to you in a very timely manner. So take the pictures in a way where you're going to be able to see the best image of the event. So there's Glenn at you can see the lectern and the poster behind him. Here's another one also taken from another one of the events. You can see the visual behind us. It has our email on there, so it was really easy to find it. Here's what the room would look like. Take lots of photos of the event. Now, sometimes you don't have, you feel uncomfortable about taking pictures of the faces of the people who are in the audience. Well, then get some pictures from the back, because you want to have use these for your meetup events, to say, look, people show up to these. And, lots of people show up to these. Crop your image in so it looks like there's more people attending than you can tell. But you can see the visuals there from far back. On the lectern is also the poster. Here's another angle. Same kind of thing. You can see the lectern as well as the other poster on the side. Here's some photos from CFI. This is they do this so well at SciCon, but this is just beautiful. See the big poster things? These do cost a little bit of money. They're made in vinyl. You can usually get them from, there's a whole bunch of places you can get them from, Vista Print and others. A lot of them have a long life because they're trying not to put anything on them that's going to be dated too much, but get yourself a few of these. You can use them for putting in windows, putting in entrances. At our Monterey County Skeptic Camp, I have these big, not posters, but they're vinyl, and they go into the ground, into the dirt, and we put them right outside of the building when we would have Skeptic Camp with arrows on it pointing to the direction, so people driving by, they know exactly where to go to our Skeptic Camp. And then whenever they're getting close to walking into the door, we have big giant posters we put on the windows, so that you can see you're going into the right event. So don't be shy about shelling out a little bit of that money. Crowdsource the money from probably within your group, but you got to advertise. You got to make sure people feel welcome. And the easiest way of doing that is for them to see that there are other people that are going to be attending and they look like they're having a good time. So here's a couple pictures from CFI. Here is Ken Frazier, but you can see the podium, the lectern, as well as the background here. I'm going to focus on one little thing because I am a photographer, a portrait photographer, kind of retired now. But one of the things that bugs the heck out of me is the details that we miss. So like, for example, oops, I thought I had an example of how, I do here in a second. So here's the, look at the lectern. And as if you're looking at that thing that's on the lectern, I'm going to show you a close-up of it. And you can see it's real batted and nasty looking on the edges here. See how that looks? So these show up in your images. So make sure that what you're using is nice and crisp and new looking and fresh. Just treat it with some respect, okay? This picture right here I have of Lauren Pancras, and you can see that's a nice photo of him. I used some Photoshop, I used like a web visual program to erase some of the objects behind him, like, you know, the exit sign or whatever might have been there. But I wanted to show this to you because you can see how that would have been really nice if there had been something visual in the background to promote your event. If there was a poster there, it just would have been so much better for advertising, social media, everything that you can think of that you can use in the future. So this is taken at a Skeptic camp in Eugene this last summer, Eugene, Oregon. And I just, every time I look at it, I think, wow, that'd be so much nicer if it had a nice logo for the group, maybe with their email underneath it or something, they're just to promote it. So Kathy had talked a lot about having how to put on a Skeptic camp, how to put these visuals out, but I want to show you. So these are a few photos that I've scanned from some of the newspapers Kathy has done in the past to get out to our audience. So this is our one of our local papers, and you can see that we're on the front of the local section. When Kathy she'd write up the press release and she'd send it out to people, and then she gave them my phone number. And you have, like she said, you have to have a contact person who's willing to answer the phone. And I mean, answer the phone right now. Get to them right now. They need a quote right now. They're writing a story right now. So not like an hour, or not sending you an email, you know, you get back to them a few days. So when Kathy would give me a heads up, she'd say, okay, I've given information out to everybody, you know, watch your phone. And I would answer every darn call, and they would call up and they'd say, I need a quote from you. Can you tell me this? And you have to be on it. And that's how it is. And we were able to get quoted in a lot of newspapers. Here's another one. You can see the picture I put up there. See this? You guys can see that, I hope. That is the picture that I had earlier that I was able to send the newspaper ahead of time. No, this might have been after, I don't remember. But but they had a visual, and there's our logo right there on the paper. And then there's a picture of all those Skeptical Inquirer magazines and Skeptic magazines that I had laid out on a table. And they were able to use these. So we had, you know, front page and then some in the inside page. This is, people still read print papers. Trust me on that. And it also appears online too, but this is still done. So you have to reach out to grow your community, and try all the avenues possible. This is free. This was all free for us. Here's another one. Back in 2018, we had like a Skeptics in the Pub before our event. So we were inviting people to come to, there was a hotel that we were going to use their lounge area, and we were going to have like just discuss and socialize. Well, one of the newspapers picked up just that social event. That's all they did. And they put a picture of one of our people who had been there from the years before, from the previous year. You can't see it but very well, but on the lectern, there's our logo, but they put hot pick underneath it. We had a couple people show up to the social event just to hang out. We've never met them before. They didn't know anything about Skeptics, and they came in and we sat and had a nice conversation, and it was great. They weren't able to come to the event the next day, but that's fine. We introduced ourselves to them and so on. So that was one of the different examples we got from just that. Here's two articles. Now, you want to get whoever your speakers are going to be, if you can get a photo of them early, and I'm not kidding you guys, you have to have photos, nice, good photos that are accessible. We have a speakers bureau, CFI website, centerforinquiry.org. Go there and you'll see a speakers bureau. We're trying to fill that with people who will be able to do speaking events around the country. We don't want them to go and anybody to invest a bunch of money to get a speaker into your country, and then you share it on Facebook or Meetup and 10 people show up, right? This is why we're putting on this webinar, is to teach you guys how to market your event so that you can attract people from all over, people who normally had never heard of your community. And so whenever we were doing the Skeptic Camp in Seaside, which is a city near us, we were able to say, one of the people who will be speaking is Richard Saunders from the Skeptic Zone. And we had a picture of him. So we just, we gave them pictures and they used it. And the next article over here is Leonard Trammell, who is one of the board members for CFI. And he was going to be speaking at my Skeptic camp. And you can see it's the front page of the newspaper, front page. And that's above the fold. From what I understand, that's a big deal. So there he is. And underneath the article, there's more. There's a whole another section on there, just kind of cut right there. But I thought that was kind of fun. Here's another Skeptic camp we did. This one is a picture of me back when I had very little hair. But we had this picture, and again, 2016, we were able to send them a photo, because when they're looking at a newspaper or even an online article, people's eyes go right to where the visual is. So you want to have the best visual possible. Okay, so now I'm going to change hats a little bit here, and we're going to talk just really in brief about making sure that you're getting photographs of your event. You want us to have the best photographs possible to be able to share on your meetup and your Facebook and your everything, because you're trying to tell the people in your group, you should have showed up. We had a good time. Okay, lots of fun people showed up. We had a really good time. So I put a couple. So this slide right here is a really bad picture. This wasn't taken at my event. This is a very old picture. But I was trying to find some bad examples of photographs taken. And I didn't want to call anybody out who's done bad photographs of groups, because I don't want to embarrass anybody too much. But this is an old photograph, and it's just like saying, do these people look like they're having a good time? No, they're not having a good time. So I don't know if I'd want to show up any meetup with these people. This is taken like the 1920s or 1930s or something. And then I pulled this off a Scientology page today because I thought that would be great. So just ignore the caption at the bottom, but I left it on there to show how awful a caption could be written. Boy, that really makes me want to go to their event. It looks like they're sitting on large plastic bags. I mean, it's just so embarrassing. I looked at that this morning. It came in my email. I follow Tony Ortega, his articles, and I thought, really, this is their best image of what happens at one of their events. I don't know. It looks like they're going to just take the bags and just throw them over the top of their heads or something, like their giant gray body bags or something. I don't know. It just looked really kind of creeped me out. And then you're seeing the back of their heads, which is fine, but it's really, really cropped in. It makes you think there's nobody on the other side of this picture because it's a Scientology kind of image. Anyway, nice picture of the back of this guy's head. This is bad. Don't do this. Absolutely don't do this kind of photo. All right, so here's some examples of things that I've just pulled really quickly off of my own that I take. I take a lot of selfies, and if all you have are selfies, get selfies. What you're looking for is showing involvement, people excited. This was a bunch of skeptics went to Las Vegas, and we went to Zach Bagans' haunted museum, and we had a great time. You look at this and you go, wow, these are people to hang out with. They're doing something. This is fun. I want to join this group. I want to go. How many people watching this right now would like to have gone? Yeah, I'm telling you, I hear you guys telling me how many it was. It's fun. Here I am in Raleigh, North Carolina. And this is a picture taken at one of my talks. Here's another one. And this is the Center for Inquiry West. A shout out to all you guys out there. So it's better if you take the picture before the food gets on the table, so you don't have all the food right there. But this is what we took. So it's like, there we are, we're engaged, we're talking, everybody's having a good time. There's food, it looks fun. Who doesn't like food? Here we are in another Center for Inquiry one, and we are at a museum. Center for Inquiry there's a children's museum out not too far from you guys, right by the waterfront there. And we took a picture with a cow. I mean, that's what you do. You have fun. You're having fun. Here we are having fun, doing fun things here in Las Vegas. Again, a group of people just having a good time. We're sitting around there. That's Kenny Biddle there on the front, and Ben Radford and others. Here's another one where people are having fun. Get these photos. You just get them all. You're going to use them for social media. It's your way of saying to people, hey, after the event, you should have been there. You really should have gone, and don't miss the next one. Here's an event in Vegas. We went to go see Banachek, and I took pictures of people at a table. You have to do these. You have to remind yourself, set a timer on your clock or on your phone or something that gives out a beep every time saying, I need to take a photo. Did you take a photo? Take a photo. These are so valuable later. Here I am speaking to the National Capillary Skeptics, and we went to a food court afterwards, and I took a picture, a nice selfie of everybody that had gone to the food court with us. Again, it's a visual of fun people having a good time. Here is a local candidate. That was Glenn Church that I showed you in the first picture. And I went to one of his town hall meetings. He's a supervisor here in our county. I've been going out and photographing them because it's very important that they have something visual to be able to use for their newsletters, for their social media. They have to have photographs to be able to show we are reaching out to the community. We are trying to make an impact to the community. Look, vote for me again because I'm reaching out to the community. You're looking for images like this that show people engaging with each other, usually with a smile on their face, to show they're friendly, approachable people. And the same thing needs to be done in your own groups. You're looking for those kinds of images. Now, I don't know this woman and I didn't feel comfortable taking a picture of her face, but this way I've shown her back, but it's again, it sells a story on how your group is going to be fun. People are interesting in my group. Let's go out and hang out with them. And I think this is the last picture that I have to show you. This is also taken at that same event where they had the sheriff show up. No, we weren't in trouble. They were doing a presentation. The sheriff's department also is under new administration here in Monterey County, and they need these images also to show that they're doing outreach to the community. So like I said in one of the first pictures that I showed you, if you're not comfortable showing the faces of the audience because you don't know them, you don't know how they'd feel about being on film, get in the back and take an image from the back and make sure you're trying to get the best visuals you can. Make it look like there's a lot of people there. If you have to crop the image in a little, not as bad as the Scientologist one, but show that there's a mixture of people there. I mean, it doesn't look like they're having fun necessarily, but it does show that they're engaged. They're listening to the presentation on the screen. I probably could have changed the lighting a little bit. He's showing about recent floods in the area, and that's why people are showing up here to hear about this flooding that's been happening. So this is what I'm trying to make sure you understand is almost last people think, oh, photographs, I guess we should have taken some. So my point to you guys is you need to make this something that is done consciously. We are going to take images of this event, and the event isn't over until those images are put up. So you've got to find a way of getting them sent out to the person who needs them, probably quick, and getting them more in a place where people can use them. So just before I end, I'm going to mention that one of the things that we've been doing with this webinar is not only hopefully trying to teach you guys how to do more, to think differently about your events that you want to have, to make successful events, to get beyond your choir, to get to those people who are probably in your town, who would probably attend, but that they don't know about you. And if they know about you, I mean, are you going to be fun? Is it going to be interesting? Is there free food? I mean, do what you can, pull on the resources you have. Like Kathy said, we have Mark Edward is a talented magician mentalist. Sure, he'll volunteer a few minutes of his time to go ahead and do magic for people to make it more entertaining. Do you have magicians? Do you have musicians? Do you have somebody who'll help out to entertain the group or to make it more fun? So you have to get those visuals to present to be able to have them out there. Lastly, we're hoping to have more webinars, and we're going to get to Q&A right now. We'd like to have more webinars on a lot of different topics to help your group. And we're going to do more things about how to film and get videos up on your YouTube channel to do more outreach. So all the work that you're doing to get better visuals and better advertising and collect those emails and addresses are going to help grow your group. And that's what we're here about after all anyway, right? We want to grow our community, and don't let all the work fall on you. I'm looking at you guys, because what happens is you take on the burden yourself and then you burn out. So please assign people to do tasks. When they say, what can I do to help? Give them something to do to help you. Here, I'm looking at you. So that's my point. We need to grow our community, and the bigger you grow your community, the more talent you're going to find within your community, and let them do more tasks. Kathy's been teaching us for the last few years how to do this marketing, well, before the pandemic, and she helped other people in our group learn how to do it. How do you send out the press release? What does it look like? How do you approach the reporters? And it should be disseminated amongst all the people in the group. So that's my final straw there. I am easy to be found on Facebook, Susan Gerbic. You see my name right there in the, I think it's right there. And susangerbic@gmail.com. Let's go to Q&A, and everybody go ahead and unmute yourself. Well, all my panelists here. Thank you guys. You guys are great. Isn't that fun? Our very first panel. It was so fun to have you guys. I learned a lot. So let's do a few questions, because we're going a little long, but hey, it's social media. We're in our houses. Well, most of us are. Let's just do a couple questions and see what we think here. We have a question that's probably going to go to Kathy. Daniel Reed has asked, are there samples of press releases that we could use that you feel are the best examples? Can you probably just probably give us your email again, maybe something to help out with that?
Yeah, it's Kathy McKenzie writer @gmail.com. And Kathy with a K and a Y, and McKenzie, McKenzie, and writer WRITER. So yeah, please just shoot me an email, and I'd be glad to share a press release or two. My archives, and then you can adapt. You can kind of see what I've done, and hopefully be able to write your own from that.
Thank you, Kathy. Jeff, you had a help.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we have a press release archive on the Center for Inquiry main webpage as well. I don't want to present my stuff as examples of the best, but it's certainly illustrative of some of the points I was making. So you can look on centerforinquiry.org, and there's a whole section of press releases going back years that you can take a look at that cover all kinds of different topics and programs as well.
We could plagiarize, right? Got it. Wonderful. Okay, Mary Beth has an interesting question. It's, my concerns with social media is that the sites, oops, I just moved up in here. The sites are controlled by people or organizations, Facebook, Twitter, that I consider unethical and politically motivated. I don't feel good about using their sites. Are there other options? So let's go to Julia and Jeff. Julia, you want to start?
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, yeah, sure. So yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. I mean, the creators the ethics are not the best. Yeah. But if you were to look into the ethics of a lot of the major companies that we purchase from, that we use daily, I'm sure you would find that those ethics aren't the best either. I guess what I would take away from this is that, yes, it's not very ethical, the creators, but it is a necessary evil. So it really depends on your mindset and your approach to how you want to use those platforms, whether that's, giving more hate to the ether that's already there with hate and complaints, or whether that's adding a bit of positivity to dilute some of that. I think you really need to look at it not as much as a social media tool that's taking advantage of you, but a communication tool that you're taking advantage of, because it's free, it's easy to use, it's accessible to everybody, and whether we like it or not, people are engaging, people are there, and that's where you're going to find them.
Yeah, I would echo. First, let me say I totally understand the objections, and I would encourage you, to follow your own sort of internal compass. I wouldn't push anyone to participate in a platform where they were genuinely uncomfortable. But that said, from a marketing and communications perspective, and as Susan has referenced many times, from a broadening outside of the existing choir perspective, you have to, as they say, fish where the fish are. These platforms, for better or worse, are also the largest and most frequently engaged with. There are other smaller ones, you know, Hive, where a bunch of comic book creators are, or Post, or, you know, the problem is there are so many sort of niche platforms that you could drive yourself crazy. A, trying to just sign up for all of them, B, posting across all of them. And then at the end of the day, all of that effort still gets you a fraction of the eyeballs that you would be getting on some of these other platforms. Much like we didn't completely throw away the concept of radio because of the existence of a Rush Limbaugh. You know, yes, there are bad actors on all of these platforms. And again, you do what's right for you. But I will say, from an actual effectiveness standpoint, at a certain point, this is where the people are, and we need to be talking to people.
It's kind of like how like 2 or 3 years ago, everyone was like, TikTok sucks. We're not going to get on that app. That's ridiculous. And now everyone and their mother and their company and their brand is on TikTok. It's just it's a necessary evil.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to also mention that we keep going back and forth, reminding everybody that you're going to be able to find this video and other videos pertaining to the future webinars on the Center for Inquiry's YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out. We'll have an actual playlist for all the different webinars. A couple questions, they're mostly been answered, I think, in the chat, but I'll mention them really quick. That oh, I think it was Jack that had said that when you're contacted by a reporter, the first question you get is you should probably ask them is, are you on deadline? Well, that's if they're approached, but I usually have, when a reporter contacts me, I already know to be alert that I'm going to be getting that call. And I already have like the information I need, like who, what, when, where, and how, and why we want people to attend, and how is it going to pertain to people. So those questions are always, you know, fast. We don't want to give the reporter to, we don't want to tell the reporter, I'll get back to you, because they may not come back to us. And we want to be the one that they go to. There's been several stories that people approached with me on psychics and things like that. And they'll say, I reached out to so-and-so, but they didn't get back to me in time. So Susan, can you answer the question? I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. So it's much better to be fast. The journalists out there are in a hurry to get their story out. They're done. Kathy, do you or anybody else have anything to say about that?
No, I think that is really good advice. Yeah, just being accessible. I mean, and you know, even if somebody calls you and you can't take the call, you can text them back and, you know, and say, hey, you know, can I help you, or, you know, what do you need? So yeah, just being accessible and being willing to talk is huge.
All right. So we're going to end it there. You guys were so patient with us watching. I hope you had a good time. I learned a lot. And as I said, you'll be able to find this on the Center for Inquiry's YouTube page. If you have further questions, please reach out to us or outreach at Center for Inquiry. We plan on having more webinars in the future. If you have topics that you think are pertinent to what you want answered, that are about finding speakers for your events, how to pay for things, what to do when you have an unruly member of your group who is just difficult, all those questions that you have, we're probably going to try to find people who would answer those questions and do future webinars. So if you have those questions, let us know. Also, if you're kind of an expert in the field that would probably be able to answer some questions, like we have Nick Little, who's going to be answering some questions about law and how to deal with rules and, you know, people who are disruptive and just different things that are interesting to know, that we probably all should know to have a successful grassroots or small groups. That's good for them to have. So you can reach out to us again at outreach@centerforinquiry.org. I almost said OG. I'm tongue twisted today. And thank you guys for being here with us. Thank you guys in the audience. Thank you. Hello, YouTube people, and anybody else who's seeing this video. If you're on Facebook, hi. Make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell so that you get the notifications every time. All right. So have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks.